Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today, a controversial book in the fandom, arguably more controversial than other things that I've defended, like the Denning verse, because it's more 50-50, I feel. There's a lot of fans who enjoy Legacy of the Force. This one is also a mixed bag for people, which of course is Children of the Jedi by Barbara Hamley, who I believe is a teacher nowadays, or currently, or always was. But she wrote. Oop! I dropped that. That was not being pissed off. That was an accident. But yeah, this is an interesting one. Now, when I read this the first time, I remember really enjoying it. So, what are my thoughts this time? Well, it's changed a bit. Um, I don't like it as much. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I've always done. I don't do number ratings. I don't do you know alphabet ratings. I think it's arbitrary. I think it's to me it's a bit stupid because it ultimately it's I feel it's less accurate than simply like being like how many positives does it have, how many negatives does it have? Because even bad works can have good things to it, and I feel it's more accurate to do like as I've said before, the low runner approach, which is you have a net positive, which you have more pluses, like you check off like what it did right, that's a plus, 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 plus. If there's a lot of pluses, then it's a net negative. If it's equal negatives and positives, then it's just it's okay. And if there's more negatives than good, then it is a net negative. Um, I want a preference. I like a lot of things in this book. I like a lot of frick. Second time I dropped it. I like a lot of ideas. I like a lot of concepts, and there are some character moments I really enjoy as well. But overall, oh, and the fact that it, thanks to later EU works, it is actually important, unlike, I don't know, Bounty Hunter Wars, um, that irrelevant trash that it is. Um, I'm gonna piss off so many people with that comment, but I don't care. Um, but overall, if I'm being objective about it, it is a net negative book. It is a slog to get through many sections of it. That being said, there are parts that I genuinely like. I think one of my biggest issues, though, and it's the same issue I had all the way back when I reviewed Republic Commando. I am not opposed, like other people might be, to the Callista and Luke romance, which is the big thing about this book. Callista is a machine. She wasn't always a machine, used to be a Jedi. A Jedi from a separate sect from the prequel Jedi that we know about. In fact, if you want to know more about Callista, apart from this book, a great book to read, actually phenomenal book, is a Clone Wars era book, actually like a Filoni Clone Wars era book, by Karen Travis called No Prisoners, which actually dives more into her story, um, while also influencing Anakin Skywalker's story. Not as an essential read, but if you also want to, if you just like Callista and you want more of that, Republic Commando, the last couple books will do that for you. I actually will mention something else at the end, but I won't mention that here. But I like Callista as a character. I like her. I think she's interesting. I do. I think she's a genuinely really cool character. My issue is the romance with Luke. Now, yeah, is the whole concept of her basically possessing one of Luke's students kind of weird because he goes into this installation, this Eye of Palpatine, with students, with two of his Jedi students. One dies and basically becomes a robot that has the same memories as the dude, but Is that the same person? No, it's just a guy. It's just a robot with the memories of that guy. Um, and true love. Romeo and Juliet, the girl Jedi student. I apologize for forgetting the names because I'm too lazy to write it down. Didn't want to live life without him. So she allows Callista to essentially possess her body, and so Luke has a girlfriend now. Which, yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. But that's not really what I dislike about it. It's how rushed it is. There's nothing in the story to me that really shows why they should be together. It's, oh, a girl likes me. Let's go for it. And it's just really rushed. Maybe if their romance had began in Darksaber after they had spent some time, still kind of weird because she's like a zombie or whatever she is, whatever you want to classify that is, she's in somebody else's body. Um, but, whatever. Ignoring that, if you allow them time to develop that more than just this book, I'd probably be more accepting of it. But the fact of the matter is, it's just kind of rushed like that out of nowhere. And it doesn't work. And it's the same issue I have with the Republic Commando books. I saw, actually, the Republic Commando books did it better because in Hard Contact, I saw little glimpses, little crumbs that led to, oh, I could see them eventually down the line falling in love. And I'd be okay with that if developed properly. The next book comes. Not only does she do what Luke does in this book, which is say, I love you, she also gets, the Jedi girl in that series gets pregnant in the second book. It's too much and too fast, which is my biggest issue with that. And the same thing here. Luke starts saying, I love you. Like, even if they get into a relationship, he's saying, I love you. I want to be with you forever. Like, you just met this person. Seems a little rushed, bud. Seems a little rushed. And I didn't approve. Honestly, the girl from Truce of Bakora had more going for her than she does. Um, that being said, the Eye of Palpatine is interesting. I like the concept of it. I like the idea. I like the concept. Let me preference that Luke is, they got to get through the Luke problem, right? Because Luke is the most powerful Jedi at this time period. Nobody with the Force can really top him, right? So what do you do to make him nerfed or to make the stakes higher? Well, Luke, in this death trap that is the Eye of Palpatine, he has to use, more energy than he's ever really used before. He has to use the Force constantly, and it tires him out, making him unable to do things. And I like that. I like that idea, and I like how it's presented here. It's just that it's boring, though, after a while. It's just like, not only is this book boring, in a lot of sections, I gotta be honest, but it's just really confusing sometimes as to what's going on. Like I would reread it a couple times and I'd still be like kind of confused as to what's happening, and that's kind of an issue. Um, Also, Leia and Han and Chewie and R2D2, because C-3PO's with Luke on the Eye of Palpatine. Um, they're having this adventure on Balsavas. It is related. It's not like a separate story or anything. It is related to the Eye of Palpatine because there's a villain there. This is actually really cool, thanks to NGO now. But there's a villain there that's doing stuff, and they got to stop him. And it is related because he has force. He has the Force, and he is like calling the Eye of Palpatine, so he could use it. Which that story too is decent. Um, but like I said, the book drags and drags and drags. But the reason I like this more than the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy is because not only is it actually important to later stories, it actually has good character moments. They're in there. You just have to look for them. Which is more than could be said for all of Bounty Hunter Wars. Not to mention, NGO will reference this, Fate of the Jedi will reference this, so it is actually an important story whether you think it's a good story or not, which gives it more props up than Bounty Hunter Wars. Um, Sorry. But that being said, though, it's really boring. It slogs, the romance is forced, and the overall story just it's not the greatest thing. And so I think objectively, it's a net negative. Do I dislike the book personally? No, to me it's okay. It's fine to me anyway, subjectively. I think objectively it's not that great of a book. I got to be honest. Um that's just trying to be fair. Like I'll be honest about stuff even if I like it. Like I don't think I think it's net negatively. It's just not a good book. But I personally enjoy it more than probably other people would. It's a decent book to me. Um, but that's pretty much it. I think it has some good character moments with Luke, with Han and Leia, and the fact that it connects to a lot of things is really cool, and I appreciate that. It makes me um, care about the book a little more. And I will say, it's not official. So, this is not a part of the expanded universe canon. It is not. But what made me appreciate this book more actually was Hand of Thrawn 45, which at the time of recording this, I have watched all of Matt Wilkins' live stream on the Sword of the Jedi. And I'm completely willing to accept Matt on that. Because when Matt can agree with Noah, that means something's really bad. I will accept that. I can't speak on that. All I've read, fanfiction wise, of Hand of Thrawn 45 is the um, Twilight duology, Jedi Twilight, which is um, a fan fiction finale to Republic Commando and Coruscant Knights. So if you were going to read that, you would need to finish all of Republic Commando and Imperial Commando and the Coruscant Knights trilogy and The Last Jedi, which is technically the fourth book in the trilogy, but it's not called Coruscant Knights because they're not only on Coruscant. But this isn't a review of that, but it connects a lot of things. Again, it's not official or anything. I'm just saying. I did read that earlier on during the Dark Times, and it gives a sort of it shows Callista becoming a machine. Which the reason I'm more accepting of that is because it definitely seems like where Karen Travis would have gone had her series been allowed to continue. Well, not that it wasn't allowed to continue, but she got pissed off of Filoni and everything, so she bailed. But I really think that's where she would have went, or at least that would have been a section of her stories had the EU been continued and had she not been pissed off. So anyway, I read that and it made me going through this appreciate things a little bit more. So I might have also a skewed opinion of this book due to that fan fiction. But I think it was generally really good fan fiction, so I do recommend it. I will leave a link in the description to it. But like I said, don't read that if you haven't read Republic Commando or Coruscant Knights. But like I said, there's good parts in it, but there's a lot of bad, and yeah, but it does get a plus for connecting to the larger EU as a whole. Because I love when the EU has continuity, which I guess is more to other authors than this one. But people had to like it enough that they decided to reference it later on because they could have just ignored it, like Bounty Hunter Wars, but they didn't. So yeah, overall, an okay read, but definitely worth your time to at least check out because the next book is to me really good, at least from memory, which is Dark Saber by Kevin J. Anderson. And that requires this one to kind of understand. I mean, you don't need it to understand what's going on, but you should read this one first because it's part of an unofficial trilogy, um, and because it is important to the larger EU. So I do recommend it. At least just to see what you think of it personally. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you, I'm getting spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, now it's time to go. So thank you all so much for watching. Till next time. Um, Mara Jade is in this book, which I just thought was really cool. I completely forgot that she was even in this book. I knew she was in Darksaber a little bit, but completely forgot she was in this story at all. But she's cool. Um, One thing I really did enjoy about this book was Leia and responsibility. Because now she's chief of state. Because, it's coming after the Jedi Academy trilogy, so. she's trying to grapple this new responsibility she has, because she's used to being a diplomat, but now she's the chief of state, along with also having to be a mother. That being said, we haven't really got to see that. We haven't really got to see Leia be that much of a mother. I mean, she only finally got her kids during the Jedi Academy trilogy because Winter's been watching over her or watching over her kids for the first couple of years. So, how much time have you actually spent with your kids? But she's dealing with all that, and so I like that she's bearing the weight of responsibility with all this, and also, you know, talks about her like she has the power to just like Palpatine to, I know this person is doing things that are wrong, even though I don't have like physical proof. I know what they're up to. I've seen it. I've gone out and done adventures. I know what's up, and I could just snap my fingers. I could tell people to go and assassinate them, but that wouldn't be right. They wouldn't be just, because justice would be putting them in court, having them tried and failed and imprisoned or killed, depending on the verdict. But she could play God. She could make all those decisions herself. And it is a constant, she may not be a Jedi, but it is a constant dark side temptation for her to just do what Palpatine used to do. Well, I know those are, rebel insurgents. Well, I know those are Imperial sympathizers or people trying to go against me. Why not just snap them out of existence real quick? No more opposition. But she doesn't, because it's not the right thing to do. And I appreciate that about her character. And I already said what I wanted to say about Callista and Luke, but that being said, I do think they have a lot of good conversations in here, in this story. Whether it be about, the old Jedi sect that she was a part of, or whether it actually just generally be them talking about one another and stuff. And sometimes it's a little weird. Like when he says he loves Callista as much as he loves his sister. I don't know what that was all about. But there's other parts that are genuinely like really good. Um, and I did enjoy them. Not all of it, but there's bits. Also, I completely forgot about this being in here. Mara Jade, of course, had heard from Thrawn that she was not the only Emperor's hand, but I think she considered that a bluff and didn't actually believe him. It took until this story where she finally realizes, oh, there were multiple Emperor's hands. I was not the only one. I mean, we got, you know, um, what's her name? Wow, Lumaya, um, and others. We also learned that, but yeah, that's something that Mara has to deal with, and I thought that was actually really good. Um, but Palpatine had concubines. I mean, I guess he had Ken Palpatine according to Jedi Prince, but he got around. So never think that Palpatine was above the sexual desire, because he apparently was not. He was never for love, that's for sure, but he was not above getting his knocks off sometimes, apparently. According to this book, because he had concubines. Um, but one person in here, who is the villain of the book, is Irek, or however the fudge you say that name. Irek. He's a force sensitive guy who claims to be the son of Palpatine, but that's not there. It, I don't know if I forget if it was in this book or not. I'm gonna be honest. I read that earlier today. It's been a few hours, but we know for a fact he's not actually Palpatine's kid. But he's force sensitive, and he's also able to manipulate machines. So that's why he's bringing the Eye of Palpatine to cause destruction. And of course, it gets stopped. And I won't tell you why if you haven't read it. But he is a character that may or may not pop up in NGO. I won't say in what book and I won't say in what context. That's for you to find out. But he does return. And it's just kind of crazy that this book brought one of the most wackiest things to the new Jedi Order. So that is something. That's honestly all my notes. I don't have any more. Like I said, trying to be a better reviewer, because the first time I went through this, I was excited. I was like, this is not the sequels. I was just so excited to read Star Wars that I think I think I ignored a lot of things. But to be honest, this, like Bounty Hunter Wars, is a story that I think is actually better if you listen to it abridged. I think it's a bit too long. That's why it slogs down a lot. And I think you would honestly have a better time if you looked up the abridged audiobook of this and just listen to that. That might actually make it a better book for you. That being said, I may have a different opinion, but I still like a lot of this book. I still appreciate it for the things it contributed and for interesting concepts and ideas, you know. Parts of this book felt a lot like, what's it called? Space Odyssey. Like that sort of vibe with the whole AI and everything. But, yeah, there's also a lot of weird things in here, too. Like I said, it's a bizarre book with like Gamorreans and Tuscans and Jawas and being all weird and all that stuff. But I'm still glad I read it. And you know, you might be more negative toward this book. That's okay. But you owe it yourself. You owe it to yourself to read it. Oop. That's pretty much it, guys. Till next time. Unless my memory has served me wrong, we're going to read another based Kevin J. Anderson novel, which is Dark Saber, the second book in the unofficial uh, trilogy of Callista novels. Till then, may the force be with you.